Good morning, everyone. I'm really glad to be here because it's definitely started since the beginning. Dusan and Marianne were inviting me, and I finally made it to be here. And today I would like to maybe quickly share some of ideas that I learned over almost 2 decades of working with agile teams, practicing agile methods and mindset. Maybe a few words about myself. I started IT software development in '96. I just look young, and over 20 years I definitely found myself in a management role. So my first management positions were back in '99 and 2000. In 2005, someone introduced me to Scrum, and I said, oh, that's exactly how my teams work already for 3 years. So Agile project management was a natural way for me, and I literally don't know any other way to organize and manage teams. And when I got the name, I started learning even more. I started learning about agile mindset, about other methods. And soon after I found myself preaching, we founded Agile Ukraine community back in 2006, 2007. And we met with Dusan and Marianne on a conference in 2010. And since that, in 2010, I found myself in Agile coaching. No one knows what is that, but still we call it Agile coaching, consultancy. So I've been working with companies on all levels, helping from team level to transforming the whole company. And in 2015, with a group of my colleagues and friends, we founded Agile Lab as a company, aiming to help people, to help companies to change, to grow, and of course to provide good quality education. So we united our experience in delivery management, because most of us, we work as delivery managers, as project managers, but with agile fashion, and we've united our agile coaching experience. Some of us work as agile coaches as a role, and we accredited some classes with International Consortium for Agile, and our unique experience, for example, led us to accrediting Agile program and portfolio management track, which is just 4 companies in the world accredited, because it's still a very new area, and practicing makes it perfect, but still there are a lot of debates how to do it well. And just a quick check, I see the poll coming about your role, so I see who is here, but very quick check maybe, who of you practicing agile methods, whatever you call it, with agile teams for over 15 years? Is anyone? Because agile is quite old, and anyone for more than 10 years, 10 or more, around the 8? Okay, 5. Just raise your hand. Okay, good. Is there anyone who has not practiced it yet? Maybe just thinking about this? Hello, normal people. I'm glad you're here. So we're still growing as a community, and it's very interesting to see. I will quickly show. When I first, like 3 or 5 years, I've been mentioning Tesla in my presentation, it was like, oh, it's modern. Now I think each of you have seen Tesla on the street. So Tesla is a very good example of disrupting the industry, which is for years been very old and slow. The automotive industry now has Tesla with a whole screen instead of the control panel. We have self-driving cars. We have a lot of things changed with the help of IT industry. And of course we use clouds, so most of us use clouds not only as a user but as developer, and it gives enormous speed of the change. So developers now can change the whole infrastructure just by changing lines of code. Before it was really months and years waiting for the new servers, waiting for the new infrastructure, and now if developer needs a new test environment, he or she just writes a line of code and spin ups in Amazon or Google or whatever cloud you use. This is amazing. This enables us to change even faster, which also enables business to change even faster. And now we have wearable devices, so we have all these trackers, body sensors. It gives us even bigger market. So in 2000 something, we introduced mobile phones, which gives us a lot of new market for IT industry. But all the body sensors, all the IoT devices, they gives us even more and more IT in our daily life. And IT changes our life. And the document that changed IT was Agile Manifesto. Back in 2001, this was a piece of paper that probably disrupted the whole world. And the guys who signed the Agile Manifesto, they brought even more black swans. So IT, you know the concept of black swan introduced by Nassim Taleb. He says in his book called Black Swans that it's an event that you can explain afterwards, but you rarely can predict in advance. And IT disruptions, they now happen more often and more often, and we see blockchain emerging, and blockchain and other technologies emerging and changing the industries we didn't change for years before. So we have more faster change, and I'm really thrilled to see, because over the last 2 years I've seen more changes than over the last 10 years or 5 years. So that's an interesting time to live in, and a very interesting time for be a company and run a company, and especially do software development. Because when guys introduced the Agile Manifesto, it was solely kind of marketing. It was the idea to ship the wave, start movement, and to fight with the status quo. They were more like rebels in Star Wars against the Empire. And they shifted the wave, and now Agile is everywhere. This is a magic dust we can put on top of everything, and we have a new thing. Like we have testing, and now we have Agile testing. We have development, and now we have Agile development. So everything could be better if you put Agile on top of it. So it's well solved. And one of the interesting statistics I monitor every year since the beginning, State of Agile survey, you can check it out on the website, and they ask thousands and thousands of people and companies every year. And every year I see that the top 5 reasons, they don't change a lot. The top 5 reasons why companies want Agile, they are almost the same. If you're a coach and you talk to a customer, and they say, oh, we feel the pain in time to market delivery, we feel the pain in team productivity, we feel the pain that our requirements changing faster than our development deliver something, they probably think or want some Agile methods, some Agile, kind of Agile. And this is definitely still the way to sell it, which is good. So it's easy to find the pain and answer it with some practical passion, but it's also bad because we overuse the selling part, we overuse Agile as a selling point, and we introduce methods, we introduce something just in the sake of Agile. And in 2009, the father of the manifesto, Alistair Coburn, came to the biggest Agile conference with a simple message: let's bury Agile as a brand. Just sounds ridiculous, like 10 years after, and he's coming and saying, oh, you do it wrong. And now we can see that many of the fathers, people who signed the manifesto, they say, you don't use it in the way we intended it to be, which is very interesting trend. So we start burying Agile for almost 10 years now. Is it still dead, or is it already dead? Or is it changing? So we still want to have more agility, we still want to have Agile methods in our companies, and still some companies only starting with introducing Agile methods, which is absolutely fine, because the whole environment, the ecosystem, the IT industry has changed over this time significantly. And this is a very interesting article I found a couple of years ago that explained for me and my colleagues what happened with the industry. And it also can explain you what the buzzwords are coming. So in the beginning, when it started in 2001, when the manifesto shifted the way, we already had some Agile teams practicing Scrum, practicing extreme programming, but when it becomes a buzzword, or the buzzword grows, many people start talking, the wave grows. And when it becomes commodity, so in 2009, 2010, many companies just say, yes, we have Agile teams, it's status quo, we don't do anything extra. And at the same time, many companies master it that, okay, we have many Agile teams, what shall we do? And the wave of enterprise agility started. And now you can see we have almost 10 or more scaled Agile frameworks. We have Scaled Agile framework, large-scale Scrum, Nexus, Scrum at scale, DSDM model, and many other models. I monitor Scaled Agile. We help customers who are really big, and of course, we inevitably work with Scaled Agile frameworks, and it's very interesting because it's still open market. There's still fight. On the team level, you have just 3 winners: Scrum, Kanban, Scrumban, and on the scaled market, you still have a big competition, and some methods do aggressive marketing just to get the market and so on. And what is interesting, soon after we had a wave of business agility. You have heard about Agile applied in non-IT environment. You have heard about Agile being applied in marketing, in HR, and this is very interesting trend. But business agility is not only about your marketing team does Scrum. It's more about fundamentally new way of thinking, and this is like over 2 years we have business agility conferences. So it's a very good sign of the new way of thinking on all levels of the company, and this is definitely the modern buzzword. If you Google business agility, this is probably what is more discussed. But it's not only when you have some agile teams and practice some agile methods, it's another way of thinking on all levels. For me, it was also interesting to compare this to technology, because I'm coming from development experience, and when a new technology comes, like big data or something, many people have illusions like, oh, big data can change the world, but then it becomes a tool in the tool set of every developer and every product manager. And same happened to many agile methods. So we are now, I think, somewhere here. As an industry, we are still learning something that we know for 20 or even 50 years. Some methods and principles we inherited from Toyota, from lean thinking, which is known from 50s and 60s, and now we rediscovering them, we refining them, we applying them pragmatically in IT industry, but after that, non-IT people learn this from us, from IT people. That's very interesting way of developing all sorts. If you look forward, if you look where it's moving, the very interesting trend published on InfoQ. InfoQ is a very famous portal for news about IT industry, and they publish quarterly or half-year trend report. So they use Moore's model, and you see the late majority, so people still getting there, but there are new and new trends coming, and it's very interesting to see what will happen in the next 5 years. What I see out here, they're more focused on development, on developers, on the ways to deliver results, rather than discussing what to deliver and how to deliver. So it's at one side we change the business mindset, answering why do we need to change, why do we need to introduce something to the market, to the users, and from another side we're changing the way of delivering this by teams, by engineers, which is very interesting synergy, and let's see where we get in a couple of years. So let's talk in 5 years or 2 years in the conference. So still we are not there. As an industry, we are still not using agile mindset as a status quo. We don't have it in our DNA. We don't teach our students to do pair programming, TDD and other methods out of the school, and we don't filter them without hiring someone who doesn't know proper engineering practices. Because our industry grows faster than learns, and unfortunately that's true. And if you look to the same report, barriers to spread agile movement further in a company, they're our mindset, they're our habit. You can have Scrum in your IT, but IT is just a simple line in your value stream, in your value delivery line, and often you can clash non-flexible business management and very flexible and iterative incremental IT team, which is very interesting, and I found a very simple answer to that. We use the word wrong. Agile is an adjective, it's a characteristic of kind, what kind we are, and it's more like a color. So if you say we do agile right, it's the same like saying we do orange right. Or especially if we compare our methods, like my Scrum is better than your Kanban, or vice versa. It's like my orange is better than your green. And every color, every color is everyone can like their own color, and there's no fight about colors. It's just a preference. It's just a way of living, and someone likes one, someone likes another. So when I work with companies, I often notice this misunderstanding, and you can hear this in their language they speak. And over almost 10 years ago, my friend and colleague Michael Sachata published this book, which is definitely must read to everyone who is dealing with transformations. Transformation of your company, or if you work as a consultant, as a coach, you can come to the company and you can immediately see the difference. And just to oversimplify explanation from his book is that often people mix adoption of methods with transformation. So when people say we want to introduce Agile, when people say we want to introduce Scrum, we want to adopt Agile mindset, it's wrong. We cannot adopt this, we cannot take it. It has to come from within, it has to come from the transformation of our ways of thinking and ways of doing. And of course, culture, as I mentioned, is one of the biggest barriers for this. So often I explain culture as a rubber. So if you have different aspects of your company, and process is one of them, and rubber, rubber on top of it, it's culture. And if you shift processes, it just stretch rubber a little bit, but after that, it either goes back or everything changes if you push or pull the culture hard enough. So transformation is a language, and mindset change is not adapting practices. It's also a change of the decision making, the principles, the organizing companies. And doing Agile and being Agile is probably the discussion I see now in the whole world in Agile movement, in Agile community. Some people call it Agile 2.0. I don't like to put numbers, but at least now all the fathers, all the original authors, they pull us back and say, okay guys, let's get back to the original idea of being Agile. And we still have to learn how to really be Agile. We still have a very interesting journey to go through this. Many people learn by looking into someone's experience, and luckily when community grows, there are more and more cases published, there are more books, there are more examples of companies doing Agile. And this is absolutely good when you look to someone when you start. This is a natural path of learning. You might hear about Shuhai and Ri model. When Shu level of learning something is the level when you need some practical experience. You need some hints like do that and you will get results. And at that level, many people go to training, read books, read about other companies. But the whole idea is that to get to the next level, to the level how, when you know different practices, different methods, and you know when and how to mix them, you need to get experience. You cannot learn it just by reading more books. You cannot learn it by attending more trainings. You have to do it and do it and do it. And many companies who do the transformation, it takes years and years before they really see the change in their culture. Some companies, they do it very fast. They simply introduce a new development center, a new office, and move Agile teams there, just to separate the old culture and new culture. It may work, but it's expensive. Some other companies, they change from within and it takes longer. Some of our clients, they've been transforming for like 4 years already. They still say we are in transformation phase. I know companies who just spent a year or more just to the zero phase of transforming the org structure and transforming the culture. So often what I see with Shuhai and Ri level, it's a very big trap to start adapting, start changing your methods even before you master them. It's like a discipline, like if you go to the gym, you believe you know how to do exercises, but your trainer, your coach, may give you feedback, you do it wrong, you have a risk of serious injury for your body. And many companies, they do it for themselves. They start with Scrum in a month, literally, like after a couple of sprints, they say, oh, let's adapt it, let's change it. We know how to do better. Let's skip some practices, or let's add some other practices on top of this without understanding why do we do this. because we have read the book or we heard about other company doing this, and definitely it leads to the bad experience. I know some companies who really hate Agile. I know some developers and teams who can slap you in the face when you say Scrum. This is reality, unfortunately, and we still want to get this. We still have companies, and I would insist that we want to get agility. We want to get the way of delivering more value with less bureaucracy, with better results to our end users, to the customers, and to the teams. So we still getting this path, we're still learning how to do this as an industry. And when I work with companies, one of the fundamental things is, of course, the management support. And this is another book for you to help. Many of you have heard about Patrick Lencioni by his book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And this book is like 8 in his series. He was for like 30 or more years transforming the companies from management level without using any word with capital A. He's been working with management on changing their mindset. And in this book, he introduced a very simple approach. He says, first, the management, the top management has to gain the clarity. Why do we do this? Why do we exist as a company? And after they get this clarity, they need to spread this clarity. And when you have transparency on all levels, you can align efforts, you can apply some methods, you can apply communication frameworks like Scrum, like Scaled Agile, and some other frameworks to help you align your people around the value and have transparency on all levels. And this is just a way how to do this. When I explain people how we do this, I use the metaphor introduced by Mr. Coburn soon after his talk, and he says, if you cannot explain this in an old, outdated manifesto, let's explain it in a very simple way. Collaboration is definitely what we need to get better agility. We need to collaborate inside teams, between teams. We need to collaborate with the users, learn their needs, collaborate with the customers, because some of them still have a budget constraints. They have a government regulation or some other things. So we need to collaborate together to deliver better value. And of course, we need to learn how to deliver. We still have industries that don't require system update more often than 6 months. Does it mean they don't need frequent builds like every 2 weeks? Yes, they can do this. They can do it for internal reviews. They can do it for disrupting their industry by enabling the industry to have more often updates. Of course, if you are in a web environment, you can update many times per day. Continuous delivery now is a kind of status quo engineering practice that many companies still want to have. And of course, reflecting on data of your product, reflecting on product usage, and reflecting on your processes. We all know retrospectives, but still some teams say, oh, we don't do retrospective, or we have just half an hour for retrospective. Is it enough? Is it really enough to reflect on your experience, to think wisely, how do we do and can we do it better? And of course, improvement often is a very hard part, because if you have a system which is 5 years old, often it's much easier to write a new system and throw away the old one instead of maintaining the system, building new features on top of it. And reflection and improvement have to come together, and not every company have a desire to change at this area. So my practical advice, if you're already practicing or you're just starting, look into the area of your knowledge sharing. Communities of practices, different guilds, different ways like conferences, unconference, meetups. This is a way to spread the information. And if you have a big company, having this in the company is really critical, because the companies that share the new ideas, the companies that share the ways of work faster than other companies, this company is more agile than other companies. And we still don't know how to do this systematically. This is probably an area not only of HR management, but also for everyone, for project managers and for coaches, for everyone, how to enable your company to learn and share the knowledge. Another practical hint for you, if you want to get better, look around value organization. This is what I do with companies when we start transformation. We look in the company, how do they align around value delivery. And it's not only hiring or founding software teams. It also requires business people sitting together with development people to understand better what the user need and what to deliver next, to make priorities, to make decisions just in time, not as a long cycle of planning and then quick cycle of delivery. It has to be an inevitable day-by-day work together. This is what many scale frameworks recommend, to start aligning around value. And this is a way to transform your company without even some methods. Just start thinking about your organization, about organization structure, look into some organization mindset patterns, and there are a lot of books about this also. And the last but not least is the way we learn. As I already mentioned, reflection is a very, very underestimated area. Every Agile coach will say that if you want to introduce one practice from Agile world, just introduce retrospectives. But it's not only retrospective. Many teams I see, they don't have a systematic way for incidents analysis, for example. If you have an incident in production, how deep is your root cause analysis down to the reasons? And back in 15s, we have stories about Toyota. When they introduced the Toyota production system, everyone was stopping the line and analyzing why the defect happened. How often do we stop the line in our software development and analyze why defect happens? Go dive into the roots of the problem. This is just a very simple practice we can introduce and change the mindset, change the way of agility in our company. And of course, there are many other ways to reflect. Reflect on data. Product management is probably under development area. Now we know what to do as a Scrum Master, but still there are just literally 1 or 2 books about product management. And product management often built on top of analyzing data, reflecting on the user behavior. And I've seen companies who've been on the market like 5 or more years without knowing the personas for their users. This is definitely something to reflect on and learn from. And there are many more examples I can give you. So just maybe the last slide, that we still want to get there, even if we know it's already late majority. It's still a big area of our industry, a big number of companies who just getting there, which is good. We are on the good path. We're already following other companies who already mastered this path. That means we can go faster, we can learn faster, we can do less mistakes that some other people have done. This is good news. But of course there are news that in this changing industry, in this changing environment, we will find the new ways faster than others follow. And unfortunately, we need to learn faster, and thank guys to organizing this conference, definitely helping to learn you as community. And probably I will stop here. I'm here the whole day. I will be glad to answer more questions on the coffee. I will follow Slido, the special links for every talk, as I understand. So for every talk you can provide questions. I will answer them online. Thank you for inviting me, and I'll be glad to stay in touch.